Hello, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to today's video. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. If you're into jiu-jitsu and you want to hear all about it, then you are in the right place. So I've gotten a couple of comments recently about competing for the first time, and a couple of these ladies just wanted some tips on how to prepare and everything that goes into competing in jiu-jitsu for the first time. It's a really big deal. And I believe I do already have a video on this. I don't believe I do have a video on this that I made a long time ago. I'll link it above, but I think it's always good to revisit topics because especially if a long time has passed, I might have new opinions, I might have new tips. So I think it's always good just to revisit ideas. And talking about this topic right now is perfect timing because I'm actually competing this weekend. I'm competing for the first time in quite some time. The last time I competed was in November, so it's been a little while. I'm competing in the New Haven Open. It's been a long time since I've done an IBJJF tournament, and I'm really excited. I miss the environment. I miss the atmosphere of just everybody being together competing. Your teammates are hyped up. There's so much adrenaline and excitement in the room. Talking about competing and how to prepare for your first competition, it's just perfect timing because I'm competing this weekend. So before I keep rambling, I know that people hate long intros. I hate watching long intros, so let's just get to the video. So tip number one, when you are preparing for your first jiu-jitsu competition, I would say is figure out what weight class you are going to fight at way ahead of time. If you are competing for the first time, I would highly recommend you fighting at the weight that you walk at. When you first wake up in the morning, after you go to the bathroom, how much do you weigh? Fight in that weight class for your first tournament. The only time I would change my opinion about this is if you are just in general trying to lose weight and you feel like you would be just in overall better shape if you were at a lower weight class, or maybe if you weighed a little bit more, then that's the only time I would really recommend losing some weight. But if you feel good in training where you're at, fight at the weight that you naturally are walking around at the time of that tournament. In my opinion, the whole point of competing for the first time is just to get that experience, just to feel and understand what it's like to get out there and compete. Because let me tell you, it is it is a wild feeling to be out there competing. It is so different than just training in the training room every day. And there's going to be a lot of stress, there's going to be anxiety, there's going to be different emotions that you're going to feel throughout your prep and on the day of. And for your first time, don't let your weight be something that you're stressing about as well. Throughout your preparation for the competition, if you can just focus on eating well and hydrating and not having to worry about dropping pounds every single week, that is going to take a huge weight off your shoulders. Leave your first competition to just focusing on your jiu-jitsu and focusing on your mindset to get out there and compete, and leave the weight cut, leave the weight gaining for future competitions when you have a little bit more experience being out there on the mats. Tip number two for when you are preparing for your first ever jiu-jitsu competition is know your rule set. In jiu-jitsu, there are different organizations that have different rule sets. IBJJF is always points focused. Other organizations that have submission only and then EBI overtime. So it can vary from competition to competition. So know the rule sets. This way, when you're training, you can have those rules in mind. For example, like I said, this weekend, I'm competing in IBJJF and they are points focused. So the past couple of weeks in training, I've just been really focused on not keeping track of my points in class when I'm rolling, but just being a little bit more aware, being a little bit more mindful that, hey, if I get swept, then now I'm down 2 points. If I take the back, now I'm up 4 points. If I get taken down, I'm down another 2 points. Since it's your first time, try to become a little bit more familiar with the points in jiu-jitsu. Different dominant positions equal different points. So that's definitely something to think about and just be aware of so that when you're out there fighting, you know that if you go to knee on belly, you get some points. If you go to mount, you get some points. If somebody sweeps you when you're standing up, now you're down some points. And then also, I think being aware of the point system, if your competition is points-based, is for me, it kind of pushes me in training to really establish my positions and to keep them and to just really focus on where I want to go next and not rush it. If I pass the guard and I get to side control and they recover right away, I don't get the points. I have to hold the position for 3 seconds in order for me to get my points. if I passed the guard and then I got to mount and maybe I held my position, so maybe I got my points, but I didn't establish a really good base and then they were able to just roll me right over. Well, now I did all of that work for nothing. I got my points, but now I'm back on bottom. Being on bottom with somebody in my closed guard is not the worst thing in the world. I actually like being there. But in competition, like I said, these are just things to keep in mind. You're going to work really, really hard to get the positions that you're going to get in competition. It's so much harder than in training. So when you get there, you want to make sure you get your points and you want to make sure you can stay there. So a little recap for tip number 2 is know the rule set that you're competing in and train accordingly. Tip number 3 for preparing for your first ever jiu-jitsu competition is, if you don't already, start thinking about what you're doing outside of the jiu-jitsu room. How well are you eating? How well are you hydrating? How much sleep are you getting in order to recover from all of the training? Yes, it's important to focus on your jiu-jitsu to get better at your jiu-jitsu, but it's also just as important to make sure that you're taking care of your body so that you can do all of the training, so that you can compete, and so that you feel good while doing it. To keep it as simple as possible, your best bet is really just to focus on well-balanced meals, avoiding as much processed junk food, making sure you're getting in your protein, your carbs, and your fats with every meal. And then as far as sleep goes, I think sleep is one of the, if not the most important thing that you can do to recover your body from all of the training, to get you to the next day to train again. Are you getting your 7 to 8 hours of sleep? I know it's hard, and I know that we are all so busy doing different things. We're up late, we are then up early, but one of the things that I do is I really, really prioritize my sleep. And when you're preparing for your first competition, I think you should too. Tip number 4 when you're preparing for your first jiu-jitsu competition is watch some matches in your free time. I remember when I got my blue belt, I competed for the first time at blue belt about a month in, and I was so scared. I was only able to compete one time at white belt because I got injured. So I was terrified to compete at blue belt. And something that helped me, something that made me feel just a little bit more confident, something that made me feel like, okay, I can do this, is watching just random matches on YouTube. You can find so many matches on YouTube of people in your weight class, at your belt rank, and I think it can just really bring you some reassurance that you can do this. For me, I was just so scared that these girls would be doing all of these moves and just things that I've never seen before. And of course, that's always possible, but when I was able to watch some matches, it brought me a little bit of peace because the things that I saw these blue belt girls doing were things that I have already seen before. They weren't doing anything that I hadn't seen. So it made me feel a lot better, and it just gave me that like little confidence boost, like, okay, I can do this. And then my last tip for you when you are preparing for your first competition is building up your mindset. To be honest, this is probably the thing that I struggle with the most. It always has been in every single sport that I've done. I always struggle with confidence in my abilities and just believing that I can do it and believing that I belong there. And a lot of times I've done really well and it hasn't held me back, but a lot of times that kind of mindset has held me back. Developing your skills in jiu-jitsu, building up the confidence in your game, obviously that's definitely going to help, but really work on that mindset, that positive mindset that you can do this, you belong out there, you deserve to be out there just as much as any of those other people competing. Picture yourself on the podium, picture yourself with your medal, picture your game, run through the things that you like to do and picture yourself doing it out there on the mats. And more than likely, if you're competing for the first time at white belt, you probably don't have a game yet. You might not have a bunch of things in your toolbox that you love to use. And that's okay, that will develop over time. But this is also a really good opportunity to sit down with your coach and talk about the things that you like to do and talk about the things that you maybe want to try to hit in competition. Write them down, make a list, and picture yourself doing those things out there. You know, the truth is you can be as prepared physically, you can be in the best shape of your life, but if your mind is not in the right place, that can really be detrimental to you. So that is my 2 cents on preparing for your first jiu-jitsu competition. I've competed a good amount and every experience is different. So use this time to prepare yourself as best as you can, but also keep in mind, and this is not to be negative, but anything can happen. Go out there, do your best, try to have some fun. It's a really awesome environment. And after you do your competition, you can really see where your jiu-jitsu is at. What techniques, what positions have stuck with you that you've learned? What have you completely forgotten about? Where did you get stuck? Where did you get submitted? What are all of the things that you need to work on? There is no better way to find out any of those answers than by competing. So if you are competing for the first time, I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any other questions or concerns about competing, please leave a comment. Please DM me on Instagram. It's a big thing and it's really scary, but it's also really exciting and it's really fun. And there's a lot of things that go into it. So like I said, I am more than happy to chat with you guys and help you out along the way. As always, if you have any other thoughts or any other tips, leave them in the comments below. If you're not subscribed to my channel, subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to hit that bell notification button so that you never miss when I post a new video. And until the next video, I will see you guys next time.